All right. Okay. All right, so I am recording these on Zoom, and so if you missed the first day of class, I recorded my first day of class in my other section, and it's on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch that if you weren't here. Does anybody have any questions about anything before we start? All right, so right now we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing of integers. So what you need to know is that if you multiply or divide like signs, you're going to get a positive answer. If you multiply or divide opposite signs, you're going to get a negative answer. So one way that we show multiplication is just with parentheses like this. And so that would be 5 times -3. So that would equal -15. -7 times -2 is going to be +14. All right, another way to indicate multiplying is this dot right here. So -9 times 7 equals -63. So if you don't already know your multiplication tables, then you'll need to make sure you work on that. And then anything multiplied by 0 is always equal to 0. So -6 times 0 is 0. And then 90 divided by -9, so that's going to be -10. Number 6 says -24 over -12. So that is the same thing as saying -24 divided by -12. So that's going to equal a +2. And number 7, -32 over 4, or in other words, -32 divided by 4, which equals -8. And number 8, 10 over 1, or 10 divided by 1, equals 10. Number 9, anything divided by 0 is undefined. So you can remember that by 0 under is undefined. And then 0 divided by any number is just 0. So 0 divided by -15, or 0 over -15, just equals 0. All right, so on number 11, we're just going to go straight across here. So -912 divided by 57. So we know that answer is going to be negative. And I'm just going to use long division to work it out. 57, oops, 57 going into 912. So 57 goes into 91 one time. 1 times 57 is 57. And subtract. That gives me 34. Bring down the 2. So, let's see. 6 times, I think, 57 times 6. Yeah, that's right. So 6 times 57 is 342. All right, so negative 912 divided by 57 equals negative 16. All right, and bring down divided by negative 8. All right, so negative 16 divided by negative 8 is positive 2. Okay. Number 12. So again, it's just multiplying and dividing, so we're just going to go straight across. So first, we're going to do 105 divided by negative 3. So we know the answer is going to be negative. So 3 goes into 105. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. And bring down the 5. And then 3 goes into 15 exactly 5 times. So 105 divided by negative 3 equals negative 35. And then that's going to be multiplied by negative 5. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. 35 times 5 is 175. Positive 175 is the answer. All right, number 13. All right, so I do need to do what's in the parentheses first, which is negative 8 divided by 2, which equals negative 4. I'm just going to bring the rest of it down. So 16 divided by 4 times negative 4. All right, so now all I have left is just to do my multiplying and dividing, so I'm just going to go straight across. So first I'm going to do 16 divided by 4, which is 4. And then I have to multiply that by negative 4. So 4 times negative 4 equals negative 16. All right. Any questions about that? Okay, then. Next, we're going to move on to fractions. Okay, so just as a reminder, all of these blank notes are available for you on Canvas under modules. So I recommend you print those out before coming to class if you can. And the completed notes are on there as well, the ones that are all filled out like this, you know. So you can always, look at those anytime you want as well. Okay, adding and subtracting of fractions. So before you can add and subtract fractions, they would need to have the same denominator. So if they already have the same denominator, then it's really easy because you just keep that same denominator and you do your adding or subtracting across the top. So 9/17 plus 2/17 equals 11/17. And then 3/8 minus 7/8. So 3 minus 7 would equal -4. So that would be -4/8. But we always need to simplify that, or in other words, we need to reduce that. So 4 goes into 4 one time, and 4 goes into 8 two times. So that simplifies to be -1/2. Okay. All right, so then what happens when you have different denominators? Well, you would want to figure out the LCD. All right, so one way to figure out the LCD is to use factor trees. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Like 4 breaks down to be 2 times 2, and then 6 breaks down to be 2 times 3. So for your LCD, you would have to have at least 2 2s, 2 factors of 2 and 1 factor of 3. So your LCD, you would do 2 times 2 times 3, and that would equal your LCD. So that equals 12. Okay, so it's the smallest number that both 4 and 6 divide into evenly. All right, so you want to then rewrite your problem where both fractions have that 12 as the denominator. So what do you have to multiply with 4 to get 12? 3. So that means you're going to multiply the top and the bottom of that fraction times 3. And then 3 times 3 gives you 9. And then what do you have to multiply with 6 to get 12? 2. So 2 times 6 and 2 times 1 gives you 2. So now you have 9/12 plus 2/12, which equals 11/12. Okay. So whenever you're subtracting fractions, a lot of times people will like to do it this way, okay? Like that. And look at it as, adding a negative. I mean, you don't have to do it that way, but I think that some people just find that helps. So you make sure that you do not forget about your negative sign or whatever. And then I'll do a factor tree like I did before. And if you have a different way that you figure out the LCD, that's totally fine. This is just one good way of doing it that I like. So 10 is 2 times 5, and then 8 would be 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2. So yeah, for 10 is 2 times 5, and for 8 it's 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So to find your LCD, it's like whichever one has the most number of 2's, that's how many 2's have to be in the LCD. So this one has 3 2's, so your LCD has to have 3 2's. And then what else do we have? We also have a 5, so that 5 has to go in as well. All right, and when you multiply all those together, that equals 40, which is your LCD. So you're going to rewrite your problem where both fractions have the denominator of 40. And so what do I have to multiply with 10 to equal 40? 4. So 4 times 7 is 28. And what do I have to multiply with 8 to equal 40? 5. And -5 times 5 would equal -25. So 28 over 40 plus negative 25 over 40. Or it could be 28 over 40 minus 25 over 40, same thing. Either way, it's going to end up as 3 over 40 for the final answer. Any questions? All right, so I want to show you another method that I like for adding and subtracting fractions. And it's called the bow tie method. All right, so this is just another option for you. It's totally up to you to decide whether you want to use the LCD method or you want to use the bow tie method. You can use either one. Personally, I find there are some situations where one method works better than the other. So the way it works is you cross multiply and you add those two products together to get your numerator. And then for the denominator, you just multiply straight across the bottom. And so this works best. You can use it anytime or never. It's totally up to you, like I said. But it works best whenever your two denominators don't have any factors in common. So like there's no like 5 and 6 don't have any factors in common. There's nothing that goes into both of those. So that to me is a good time to use the bow tie method. So let's see. So just cross multiply. So 1 times 6 is 6 plus, and then 5 times 7 is 35 over, and then 5 times 6 is 30, so that's your denominator. And then 6 plus 35 equals 41. So 41 over 30 would be the answer. Any questions about that? Any questions? Come on. I'm getting bored.
We're gonna have to simplify that.
Thank you for asking that.
It can be simplified.
So simplifying means reducing a fraction. Okay, so I think what you're referring to is changing it to a mixed number. So, which is not really the same thing as, which is like, I wouldn't really call that simplifying. I would just call that changing it to a mixed number. So no, I don't want to change that to a mixed number. So for the purposes of this class, we're just going to leave it as an improper fraction. And I kind of don't like that term improper fraction because it implies there's something wrong with that, which there's not. It's perfectly fine. And it's easier to work with than a mixed number. Now, if you're talking about like a real life application, like you're in the kitchen and you need like 1 3/4 cups of milk or something, then yeah, a mixed number is great. So there's a place for that. But just in math and doing arithmetic, it's a lot easier to just stick with improper fractions. So the end. So yeah, so you'll notice in your homework, it'll say in the instructions, like if you read those little fine print, you know, it'll say enter your answer as an integer or a simplified fraction. So a simplified fraction just means it's reduced. It can still be improper. All right. Okay, so number 6. Again, 7 and 12 don't have any common factors, so personally I'd love to use the bow tie method on this one. And again, I think it's a great idea to attach that negative to that 5. That 5, especially if you're using the bow tie method, I like doing that. So you know where that negative goes. All right, so 2 times 12 is 24 plus 5, or negative 5 times 7 will be negative 35 over 7 times 12 is 84. Okay, so on the top, again, it's basically the same thing as 24 minus 35. It's going to be negative 11 over 84. Number 7. So in this case, looking at those two denominators, they do have a common factor of 3. So maybe using the bow tie method isn't like the best, easiest way to do it. You might want to do LCD method, but you can still do it either way. Just know that if you use the bow tie method on this problem, you're probably going to end up having to reduce it more at the end. So, you know, just, so, you know, we could do it both ways and you can see the difference. So what the heck, let's do the bow tie method and see how it goes. So 5 times 9 is 45 plus 6 times 10 is 60 over 6 times 9 is 54. So then that becomes 105 over 54. Okay, now, like I said, even if you're going to have to reduce this, what do you think goes into both of those numbers? 3. Okay, which just so happens to be like, oh yeah, that was the common factor between those denominators, huh? Yep. All right, let's see. That'll be okay, 18 on the bottom. And on the top, that's going to be 35. Yeah, there we go. 35 over 18. All right. So just for fun, let's look at how it would look if we were to have done the LCD method. So in that case, we would want to figure out the LCD between 6 and 9. So if you want to do it this way, that's 2 and 3. That's 3 and 3. So my LCD has to have 2 factors of 3 and a factor of 2. So 3 times 3 times 2. So my LCD is equal to 18. And then what do I have to multiply with 6 to get 18? That's 3. 3 times 5 is 15. And what do I have to multiply with 9 to get 18? That's 2. And 2 times 10 is 20. And then 15 plus 20 is 35. So it's 35 over 18. So I don't know. I mean, they're just equal. I mean, whichever way you prefer. You can obviously do it either way. But like I said, I tend to usually I think I would opt for the LCD method on that one personally, but okay. Any questions? All right, there we go. All right. You knew the letters were coming, right? All right. It's actually, see, it's easier because you don't have to even really like know how to multiply numbers or anything. The letters are just there. So, you know, CD means C times D. Okay, so So what do you think the LCD is for this? Okay, you said D. You go the other way. You're thinking small, you need to think bigger. D would be like the greatest common factor. We need. So I'm gonna have to be able to multiply something times this to get my LCD. No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. We're only looking at the denominators. Only looking at the denominators. So basically, your LCD has to contain all the factors of those denominators. So the factors of the denominators are C and D. So that's your LCD, CD. Your LCD is CD. So your first fraction doesn't need to change at all because it already has that LCD. And then your second one just needs to get multiplied by the C. So C times 9, or 9 times C, is just 9C. So now we have the LCD. So we just go ahead and add across the top. So 8 plus 9C. And since those are not like terms, you can't do anything other than just write that down as 8 plus 9C. Because they're not like terms, you know, they're apples and oranges. So
because 8 doesn't.
the 8 doesn't have a C, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, number 9. So 3 and 5 don't have any common factors, so I would do bow tie on this one. So that's going to be 5x minus 6. I could have said plus negative 6, but it's the same thing as minus 6. And it's all over 15. All right, number 10. So obviously those two denominators do have common factor. They both have A. So what's going to be our LCD? Again, you're thinking small, you need to think bigger. Yes? Too big. A cubed is too big, but you know, you're getting there, getting there. A is too small, A cubed is too big. A squared. Right. So, all right. So it has to be, your LCD is what will both of these denominators go into. So it's the least amount that both of those denominators will go into. So if one of your denominators will go into the other one, then that's your LCD. Okay, so that's an easy way that works with a lot of problems. If one of your denominators goes into the other one, then that's your LCD. So now, A cubed Now, if you multiplied a times a squared, that would get you a cubed, or a to the third power. And that is a common denominator, so that would work, but then you would end up having to reduce more at the end, so it's not your least common denominator. So when you're doing this, so when you figure out, or you think you figure out what your denominator, your LCD is, you're going to ask yourself the question, right? What do I have to multiply with this denominator to equal that denominator? A times a is a squared. Now, if you ask yourself that question and there's really no answer to that question, then that probably means that, you know, your denominator is not right. Because like if I would have, so for example, if I would have said a was my LCD, and I would have asked myself, well, what can I multiply with a squared to just equal a? There would be no answer for that because it's not big enough. And here I don't need to multiply anything. It should be just multiplying by 1, which you don't even need to do. So, okay, so that gives me basically negative a right there. And then this is 3. So I could say negative a plus 3, but I'd rather say 3 minus a. It seems nicer. I don't know. Maybe not. Either way, it doesn't matter. Negative a plus 3, I guess. So 3 minus a, either way, all over a squared. Does anybody have any questions about anything? How are we doing on MyLabs Plus? Have y'all gotten in? You need to use Firefox browser. You need to go to www.wc.mylabsplus.com. Your first homework is going to be due Monday.
Then you just click on homework.
Yes, once you go in there, yeah, just once you're in, you just click on homework and there it is. You can use your access code if you bought one at the bookstore, or you want to save money, just type in your credit card number, or if you really want to not pay for it right now, just click on pay later, but either way, just go in there, okay? Start doing your homework. Okie dokie?
So that first homework, I guess it's adding something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's doing.
So like 1.2 is a real short one. That was just absolute value. And then there's the second one's like 1.314, which is the adding, subtracting. Yeah, that's what it'll be due on Monday. So, I mean, should, like, in an ideal world, you'd already have that done. Okay. So, yeah, because now you need to start working on this homework.
I don't think there's any due dates.
Yeah, I'll get to it. Sorry. But yes, it will be due Monday. Okay. Feel free to email me all kinds of anything that you need me to do, anything you're looking for. Again, also I gave you my cell number. Text me, it's fine. If you have any questions or need anything, okay? And then I'm recording this. It's going to be on, so it'll be available to watch. If you can't find it, again, if you're looking for anything, just email me or text me. If you're looking for videos, if you're looking for notes, if you're looking for homework, whatever it is, just email me, text me, no problem. Okay? All right. I'll see you on Monday.